Hi Cyber Class, it's Professor Opterbeck, just bringing the weekly update as we move into week 5 of our class. So good work once again on week 4. Again, I enjoyed reading all of your discussion posts on the Carpenter case, and as you saw from the papers of mine that I gave you to look at, these are areas I'm really interested in, and we're going to spend some more time at the summit on Saturday talking about these issues about encryption, about the Fourth Amendment, about the Fifth Amendment, and then about the FISA statute, as we will look at the FISA statute this week. It was interesting. I think only one of you, maybe one or two of you, agreed with Justice Kennedy's opinion. Almost all of you seem to agree with Justice Roberts' opinion in Carpenter. Personally, I'm not so sure. I think the result of Justice Roberts' opinion is probably correct. I do agree as a policy matter that the ability of the government to simply obtain basically these bulk records through some kind of Stored Communications Act subpoena is probably too broad. I kind of think, though, that Kennedy is right, and this reflects a little bit of my view about sort of the role of the judiciary, that really this is a matter for Congress. And I know at least one of you mentioned the Wiretap Act, and if you think about that for a second, you know, why do we have a Wiretap Act? And the Wiretap Act, in fact, has a stronger probable cause requirement than the Fourth Amendment probable cause that would be required for a warrant. For a wiretap, you need probable cause plus, you know, some showing of exigency that you don't need under an ordinary search warrant. And that's because when the third-party doctrine was kind of solidified, and the issue of wiretaps was a live issue, and then involving, you know, land-based telephone lines, Congress stepped in and said, okay, we need to have special privacy protections here. We need to tweak this balance. And Congress is free to do that. And Congress can even provide broader protections than the baseline Fourth Amendment warrant requirement would do. And that's what they did for wiretaps. For stored communications and for other electronic communications not in transit, Congress adopted the Stored Communications Act and the Electronic Communications Privacy Act, as well as CALEA. Now, I think there are good arguments that those statutes, even though they're sort of early cable and then internet age statutes, have really been outpaced by the technology, and therefore those statutes need to be updated, and that further things like this bulk data on things like location that many of our carriers have on us need to be addressed. Personally, I'd rather see that be the subject of legislation, and then perhaps enabled by legislation, some kind of regulation. Obviously, you know, we've been living for a long time in a political moment that it's very difficult for Congress to do anything at all, but, you know, I'm not sure that that difficulty means that the court should step in, except perhaps in areas that involve, you know, protected classes, where I'm thinking about Caroline products, you know, footnote 4, all those kinds of issues. So I don't know, that's kind of my take on it, but very good discussion, and I appreciated it. So this week we are moving into a discussion of the FISA statute. In many ways, I consider this week kind of the beating heart of sort of the cyber, civil liberties, national security aspect of this semester. And again, I've written about some of these things, and I can talk with you about some of that when we meet on Saturday. But this is a really still a live debate. You can see from the Trump administration's reauthorization of the FISA statute as amended, some of the issues about it. I'm not sure exactly what the Biden administration might do in this area, what a Congress with a new balance of power might do in this area, but it'll be really interesting to follow. For our summits, we will discuss a bunch of this stuff and do some small group discussion and large group discussion on this stuff. We also have two really great guest speakers. Jaffer has tons of experience and has done some interesting work in this national security, cybersecurity area. He teaches at George Mason Law School and does some consulting work. I've been on a panel with him before, and I'm really excited to have him join us. And then Kenneth Gears, you've read one of his pieces that he submitted to the Talon Papers. He does work with the Atlantic Council. It's worthwhile to look at his page on the Atlantic Council site. He has a lot of good stuff on there. He also does consulting work. So I'm really looking forward to having a discussion with him. This will be the first time I personally will have met him in person. So I think it's going to be a really great summit. Looking forward to it. Have a great week, and I'll see you all on Saturday.